Hey folks, so I'm just sitting here working on a project, having some thoughts about AI, and I thought I'd record them. Now, this debate doesn't really need any introduction. If you're connected at all with the art world, you've probably seen the huge debate raging right now over the past couple of weeks. And I'm not really here to talk about whether using stolen art to power AI is unethical, because it is. Obviously, it obviously is. Or whether AI should be banned, like the technology. It shouldn't. It's actually kind of a cool technology. But I kind of want to talk about something that I don't really see talked about a lot, and that's whether AI is art. Now, I mean, a lot of people aren't talking about that, but there's a specific angle of it that I haven't really seen. And, the internet runs on hot takes. So I'm just doing my part to fuel the machine. So, defenders of AI, they say stuff like, what's all the drama about? AI is just another tool in the artist's toolbox, like a camera or Photoshop or whatever. There's no reason for the whole social upheaval that's happening right now, which is true. AI is a pretty cool tool, but it's the first tool that just by having it can give you like a finished piece or the appearance of a finished piece. Like a nail gun is a tool, and it makes it easier to build a house than a hammer does. But just by having a nail gun doesn't mean you built a house. Having tools doesn't make you a carpenter. But is that changing? Like, is that the future? So I think the discussion is actually worth having. It's not, neither side should just dismiss the other side of the argument. But I definitely come down on one side, so hear me out. So I have used AI to create things. I'm not a total Luddite. I tried it out for a while. I used it a lot. I haven't used it in my own personal work yet. Like the work I make for myself. Art. But part of the debate is whether AI is viable for like a production environment. And I would say as like concept art, not really. No, not yet at least. It makes way too many mistakes. I'll put some images up on the screen that I made. It makes too many mistakes, and I feel like you're going to spend a lot of time just like fixing them and painting over, and it's not really any faster than just doing it doing it for real. I even tried uploading models that were like half done, because you can upload images to it and then tell it to like enhance it and add your own prompts and things. And it seemed cool at first. I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool because it gives me ideas for details. But I realized, like, especially in a production environment, if you're already at this point on a character, you have concept art already. You know what it's supposed to look like. It's not really that helpful. And, I guess if I was just kind of like flying by the seat of my pants, making a character with no idea what I was doing, it might be useful. But that's like a sketch. Like I don't ever do like a full finished production ready, game ready character if I don't already know what I'm doing. So it's really not useful in a real production environment, especially if you're working on a team, because your art director is going to come back and ask you to change some stuff, and you're gonna, if you can't change it, then you're probably not in the position to be on the concept art team anyway. And if you can change it, you're just going to spend all the time changing it, and you should have just painted it in the first place. So it's really not that valuable in a production environment. Now, where I have actually used it for work for real is creating the backgrounds of thumbnails for YouTube, because we work at a small studio. So, I'm not really taking anyone's job. It's not like we're going to hire someone just to make thumbnails. If I make a video, it's my job to make the thumbnail. I'm not going to do a full on render for just the background of a picture of a knight that we're selling or something. And I'm not going to buy stock photography for it. So it's been pretty useful to create little thumbnails in that regard. But now that I know that it kind of runs on stolen artwork, it is more of a gray area for me, especially Midjourney. Midjourney definitely runs on stolen artwork, like explicitly. It's obvious just by using it. So I think the tool is great. I think it's awesome as an artist to be able to just create new images kind of as elements in larger pieces. And I've definitely played around with it a lot, but not a single pixel of my own personal art is AI generated, and it's not going to be until we work out these like ethical copyright issues. It's a little bit too gray for me. But that's not the point of the video. I'm way off on a tangent. I wanted to talk about whether a purely AI generated image qualifies as art. So I guess we kind of have to think about what art is. Like, what makes it valuable? Is it the effort? Does the value of art come from like the labor that we put into it and how hard it is to get good at it? Yeah, I think that's a major part of it. And that seems to be what the debate is focusing on. Like, people who are against AI, people whose side I'm on generally, seem to focus on the fact that art is difficult, or it should be, and it's a skill that you have to develop. There's actually a really excellent TED Talk, which I'll link in the description, about kind of the evolutionary origins of beauty. And part of it comes down to humans love to watch other humans do things skillfully. We find it beautiful and moving. So taking that out of it does take something out of it, but I don't think that's the only thing that makes art valuable. Because as the AI prompt bros will say, photography is like an instantaneous painting. And when cameras came about, all the painters thought, oh, this is too easy, it's not real art. But no one these days argues that photography isn't art, right? And that's true. All you have to do is look at a little screen, push a single button, and you have something way better than the most realistic painting, right? No, not really. But we'll grant them that photography does take less effort than painting. And yet no one argues that it's less valuable than painting as like an art form. So the value can't only come from the difficulty. It has to come from somewhere else, right? And it also can't just be about the beauty and the aesthetics of the finished image, because there's no denying that AI creates beautiful images, sometimes. But if you think about it, the image of like a sunset entering my brain through my eye is beautiful, and it might even be moving and like stir up emotions and associations in my brain, but it's not art until I paint it or photograph it or render it or capture it somehow. So I could prompt an AI to generate an image of a sunset, or I can take out my camera and snap a picture of it, and they both take about the same amount of time and physical effort, and they could be both equally beautiful. And I could even show the images to you, and you could feel as moved by them as I was. So why is a photograph art and the AI image is not art? Like, what's the missing element? Raise your hand if you know. It's the point of view. It's the choice, or a story, or a message. It's creativity. Now, if any prompt bros are watching this video, you're probably rolling your eyes and getting ready to close the tab. But just like, hear me out. Like, the video's almost done. It's not too much longer. So whether I make a render or a painting or just snap a photo, when I share it with you, I'm showing you what I saw, and I'm trying to make you feel how I felt. So effort is an important aspect of art, but it's not the only thing that matters. A painting takes a ton of effort, rendering takes a little bit less, and a photograph takes the least amount of effort of all of those choices. But at least I made a choice. You know, like, technology is making it easier and easier, and it's reducing friction, but all of those other options, rendering, photography, painting, it involves choices. I'm not just talking about like choosing the composition of the photo. You know, the sunset made me feel a certain way, and I made the choice to capture it and to try to communicate how I felt to you, the viewer. So I feel like that's the missing element in AI, and why it's not art. So AI is a great tool, but tools are not art unless someone uses them to tell a story, right? And I don't mean just like prompting until something you like falls out of the slot machine. Like, okay, so I have a short story that I wrote years ago, and I have a script for it too, actually, like a screenplay. And one day I really want to turn it into like an animated short film. And I have this folder on my computer with like hundreds and hundreds of images from Pinterest. And all those images remind me of aspects of my story, and they enhance my mental image of it. And some of the images are just like a plain room, right? But I've imbued them with meaning and beauty and a story because I associate it internally with my short film, with my short story. And you know what? Ever since Midjourney came out, that folder has started to collect some AI-generated imagery as well. There are AI-generated images in that folder that have emotional resonance to me. They're moving and they're beautiful. And they didn't exist until I generated them, right? But it's still not art until I make my film, until I tell my story, until I turn it into art through the effort and through the labor and the choice. Even if I were to compile all of the images from Pinterest and Midjourney into like a slideshow so that I can communicate my story to you, have I made art? I mean, not really. I guess at best I've made like a pitch deck for investors to get funding for my movie, right? It's not art. It's like a concept. It's inspiration, I should say. mean, you'd probably laugh if I made like a slideshow of images I found on Pinterest and called it art. And AI is the same. That's how I feel about it. When you're sitting in front of Pinterest or Google and you're typing in phrases in exchange for like imagery that didn't come out of your head, what do we call that? We call that consuming. You're not creating, you're consuming. I mean, it seems so obvious to me. And it's the same with AI. You can use those images later to create art, just like you can with Google image results or Pinterest, or you can use it to inspire your art. That's fine. But typing in a phrase to receive an image is consuming, especially if you don't do anything with the image, you just post it. It's kind of like having a search engine into an alternate dimension, getting images that don't exist here in this world, but they didn't come from you. You came up with the phrase, but that's the same thing as Google searching or searching on Pinterest. So the prompt bros actually might be right about something. They might be right that time and effort are aspects of art that are no longer going to be required to create art in the future. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. There are a lot of areas of friction that I wish weren't there when it comes to creating digital art. I would be super happy if all that friction went away. But if an image doesn't have a message or a point of view or a story, or at minimum just like intention, if it didn't come from your head, then it isn't art. You're just consuming. So that's where I land on the issue. This is where I normally say leave a comment and tell me what you think, but man, I feel like everything's already been said on this subject. But you know what? Leave a comment, tell me what you think. I'll read them. I'm always looking for new hot takes, something fresh. All right, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.